This is Introduction to ISIS Part 2. In this tutorial, I'll be showing you how to create a hydrocarbon. I'll then show you how to create a hydrocarbon derivative along with other types of unsaturated hydrocarbons, such as alkenes, alkynes, cycloalkenes. I'll also show you how to switch between the line angle and condensed structure, as well as downloading and opening a sketch file, such as the examples that I've given in a lot of my documentary videos. So to start off, at the very top is the lasso select. So whenever you're in between making changes on the ISIS draw pad, you need to go ahead and left click right on the white area. From here, I need to go to the CC. If I want to create a single bond, then I toggle it so it's on. If I want to see about creating right off the bat a double bond or triple bond, simply hold down your left mouse key over the toggled button, and then you have other options. So these are ones you can mess with. For right now, I'm just going to stick with the single bond. I go ahead and I create a single bond here. Let's say I want to create a propane. Then at the very carbon head, I need to go ahead and left click on it again, and then left click on it again. Let's say I've created too much for my propane. I need to go ahead and highlight the carbon, and there's different ways you can highlight it. One way is to simply move your mouse over so it creates a tiny little box, if you can see it, and then press delete. The other way to do it is to go right up to the lasso, and you're going to highlight the carbon end and then press delete. And last, if you wanted to go ahead and get rid of multiple mistakes, you can go ahead and use the eraser, and then that will delete it. Let's go back to the carbon-carbon toggle. Click on the head. Now if I want to do any changes to this propane, for example, if I wanted to turn it into a condensed structure, or if I wanted to make it bigger, I need to first go up to the lasso. I need to lasso everything, and from here I can drag the edge and make it overall bigger. You can then manually change the size from now on or not. It's up to you. I can stretch it out if I want. Once it's highlighted like this, I can double click it and I can have the edit molecule function pop up. This will change the characteristics, and this is what we need to change it to a condensed structure. A condensed structure, you see the carbons. They're shown along with the hydrogens. So I have to click on this pull down menu, and I go to carbon show, and then I go to hydrogens, and I will show them to the right. Let's say the carbon and hydrogens are way too big. Double click on it again. If it's highlighted, go to font, and we'll change it so that it's a it's a 14. So now they're much smaller. When you want to get rid of the box, which allows you to make changes, simply left click onto the white pad so you can go to the next item. So that allows me to change it to a condensed structure. If I want to change it back to a line structure, go ahead and lasso it, double click it, and then go back to carbon atoms, and then go to hide and off. If I want to go ahead and add in a common name alkyl group, such as a isopropyl group, I click on the carbon I want to add, click on the head, and voila. Let's say I wanted to go ahead and add in a hydrocarbon derivative, such as a fluorine. First thing I need to do is go ahead and add in a alkyl group. This alkyl group I need to add in first because I'm going to modify the edge so that it's now a fluorine. I modify the CH3, so now it's a fluorine. To do this, I need to go ahead, click on the lasso select, click on the edge, and if I just click on this very edge right here, and if you can't get the edge, then you can always circle it, and then I can double click on it and this box edit item should appear. I then change it to a fluorine, and voila, we have our fluorines. I do want to point out that if I were to sit there and change it into a condensed structure, some changes are not always kept. So if I change it back to a condensed structure, see how the fluorine disappears, and then I have to manually change it again to a fluorine. So it is a simple program, and sometimes it does make mistakes. If I want to go ahead and add in a double bond to create an alkene, very simple. I click on the carbon-carbon bond, and even though it's set for single bond, if I simply highlight the bond I want to change, highlight, left click, and it changes it to a double bond. If it's already in condensed structure, notice how it automatically adjusts the hydrogens. This program's pretty nice. It knows about the 4-bond rule, and it will even give you a question mark if you try to change it to 5 bonds or 3 bonds. Let's change this one right here. Changes to 2 bonds. If I try to change it to 3 bonds, it won't allow me to. It only goes 1 to 2. If I change this one, see how it automatically gives me the valence exceeded on atoms. That means you're violating the 1-bond rule to fluorine itself. So you click on undo. This chain is pretty cool because it allows me to make immediate hydrocarbons by simply dragging it along. So I'm holding it, left clicking, and dragging it along. Pretty nice. If I wanted to go ahead and create a cycloalkane, then I can go ahead and create the number of bonds I want, in this case 5 carbons. I then need to left click on the lasso, and I'm going to drag, click on the white space, left click on this single carbon, and then I'm going to start to drag it around the way I want. Sometimes you have to drag it carbon by carbon, but I'm going to drag the edges. It's pretty cool. If the end carbons touch, they automatically snap together. You may have to adjust it, and voila, I now have a cyclobutane. I'm going to highlight it just to prove it to you. Click on my auto-naming blue button, and voila, cyclobutane. If you make one single mistake, you can click on Edit and do Undo. Finally, there's a variety of pre-made molecules, mostly cycloalkanes. So if I click on cycloheptane, button on the very top, and then click over here, voila, I've just created a cycloheptane. If I want to create a benzene molecule, which are pretty popular in the Chapter 1-2 Part 2, then I click over here. If I want to drag it around, I left click on the lasso, and if it turns into a box like this, then I can move it around. Again, if I want to change the carbon and hydrogens or anything about it, double click it, and this should appear. If it doesn't, then I can always right click it, and it says Edit Molecule, and it can also appear. Let's go ahead and create a 1-propyne, So let's go to carbon single bond, carbon 1, carbon 2, carbon 3. Let's go ahead on this one right here. I added too much, so I'll press the delete button as I look over it. I'll then, as I move over it, I'll left click it twice, and then I'll drag the very end, although I have to switch to the lasso mode. So some of this you'll have to play with. I'll then go ahead and highlight it so that way I can move it over. And voila, I just created a 1-propyne. If it's highlighted, I can prove it to you by it popping up like this. Notice the 1 is implied if it's only a 1. So this is a 1-propyne. Last but not least, if I go to Blackboard and I click on Lecture Content, Week 1, Week 2, oftentimes under the videos I'll have actual examples, and I can either left click it and it should pop up. If you have slower computers, you might want to right click it, save target as, and then save it as an ISIS sketch to your computer, naming it the way you would like to name it. Or you can use the name that I have. From there, you can either double click on it and it should open up an ISIS, or you can go to File, Open, highlight the one you want, in this case Confirmations 2, and then click on Open. Now, just like Microsoft Word, sometimes there are files that are hidden underneath. So if there's ever a file, then click on this, the maximize or minimize button, so that way you can see the ones underneath. This concludes our Introduction to ISIS Part 2.